Welcome everyone to a Mere Mortals Meandering session. You have Kyron here.
Juan over here, back
Juan
outdoors,
on the
back
other
in
side.
the beautiful South Bank
As
region
always,
area.
philosophy in the park. Meanderings is a lighter session, so we'll be going over some semi-notes that we both have, but I don't know what you're going to talk about, you don't know what I'm going to talk about, so it's a bit more spontaneous.
Correct.
Something I am not renowned for, people. It's I've never been accused of being spontaneous. I'm going to jump into my first one. I've been noticing YouTube is deleting some of our comments, Juan. Our favoured guests and audience members, and particularly on the book reviews channel. And so now I actually got to experience this in real time. So this guy, it was Mike, and then there was another guy, M7, and both of them were. I've seen particularly Mike's ones where I'll do. In this example, I actually took a screenshot of it so I can tell you exactly what happened. He sent me through a review of it was Beyond Good and Evil by Niche.
A comment on it.
So there was two. One was the first one was M7. He said like, good review. I find reading him difficult. Blah blah blah. I expect like, have you tried to read this sort of thing? And then he posted a link, and it was to.
I think I saw it this morning actually. I think I saw that comment there this morning.
But then did you click on it?
No.
And okay, so when you click on it and try and go to it, you can't. It's been deleted. And
Gotcha.
he was, I was guessing, I could sort of see that he had included a link to an external website there. So I thought, maybe that's what it is.
YouTube picked it up and deleted the comment. Can't do that.
Getting off YouTube? Nah, mate. And so I thought, okay, that could be the reason why.
Sure.
Then I was posting and I was like, did you delete your comment? Just asking him for clarification. So that was M7 was saying this, and then Mike came in and he was saying, I've also had some comments deleted. I don't know what it is either, etc., etc. And I'm just like, man, this is crazy. Because it's bullshit, because I see on the Mere Mortals channel, we'll get spam comments which are like, sexy lady,
bullcrap,
VT, like, HTTPS, VT, O.X, blah, blah, blah. And those still remain.
Those stay, yeah.
Granted, some of them get cut off, I see them. But, I find it kind of bullshit that legit comments, these are dudes who I've interacted with multiple times who always provide really nice comments or like valuable comments saying, hey, have you thought of this? Have you looked at this website? I found the same sort of thing. Just deleting them off. BS, man.
BS. I'm going to put forth that we might be ignorant here, though. Have you seen all the brand new YouTube guidelines that have come out just recently?
I don't read them all, no. I skim them sometimes.
Okay. So I know that very recently, like I've just seen mail after email coming through being like, YouTube changing the guidelines quite a bit. Make sure you check this out. So, look, maybe, perhaps there is something that they have changed, which is causing that to happen. And I mean, which is still bull. What do you mean, like genuine comments being made and they're going to get deleted just randomly? I don't know if this got something to do with that or whatever else.
I mean, it's just so uncontroversial. Look at all the reviews on the Gulag Archipelago, and some of those are weird. And I could see, maybe YouTube doesn't want weird comments on there. People just randomly railing against socialism or how Australia's a communist state out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a bit extreme, but whatever.
Yep.
That's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. But no, these are genuine, good feedback comments that are just getting lost somewhere.
And there's nothing you can really do. Like, as you as a creator, there is nothing you can do about it.
There's no recourse. There's no way I can directly contact Mike because, these are people who don't have their own channels. They're just, you have to sign up to YouTube, but you don't. There's no communication system within YouTube. Unless I'm like, hey Mike, give me your contact details and etc.
Isn't this an interesting little call out for value enabled podcast, right?
This is it.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, even in today's world, you can't even reach out to YouTube directly to be like, hey, you guys kind of messed up. They won't even see our message. If they do, like, look, maybe they will, but it's not going to be immediate. It might be a little while. And let's just imagine maybe a bigger group on YouTube that, let's get 100 comments on every video, like genuine comments, and half of them go away. Like, by the time you reach out to YouTube to get those comments back or prove that they weren't like terrible or whatnot, you maybe like
you've maybe lost a subscriber.
Yeah, maybe you've lost a couple of people.
You might say on your channel like we do, I'm going to reply to every comment, and at this stage. Maybe in the future, if it gets big or whatnot, we'll have to see when it becomes physically impossible. But you know, that could be a serious detriment, and this is why value for value and the podcasting 2.0 is still somewhat struggling a bit, because there's no real formal guidelines, there's no expected behavior. So for example, a lot of people who are using it now, and in particular the direct value exchange using Bitcoin, is a lot of Bitcoin podcasts. You know, it makes sense. They're talking about Bitcoin, they'll be onto this stuff. But they have not dived into the world of podcasting 2.0, so they don't even know that you can get boostagrams through. So they have their own nodes because they're Bitcoin fanatics already.
Sure.
And they believe in Bitcoin as a philosophy almost. So they have nodes, but they don't know that there's also messages getting attached and that this is just getting lost. And I can tell you, because I've been doing this for like 2 years now, the most frustrating thing about reaching out to people is when you just don't know if it's got to them or not. It's not even if they're, unless every single message I've sent, people are like, oh, that's Kyron, fuck him off. Like, who gives a shit? So that could also be a possibility. Yeah. But I have the feeling it's more you're sending things out and it's just getting lost in the void, which is just frustrating as the listener, because you have no idea. I suppose, like, you have no idea if they're purposefully not seeing it or if it's getting lost in the void, although you're pretty sure it's getting lost in the void.
I mean, it's sort of like the equivalent, say, like, let's just take Joe Rogan. If you send Joe a message through Instagram or something to that effect, he will never see it. He was never going to open that up. He's never going to be saying seen, let alone like a reply. Like, that ain't going to happen. You probably have to like send him a direct text message. That's how it seems that he communicates. Someone like a Gary Vee, though, again, massive dude. I've gotten replies from him on Twitter, on Instagram, on comments. He sent me a direct email. I have a direct email from Gary Vee, directly from his email.
What was that about?
Replying back. I sent him an email.
You're a cunt.
This was like a couple of months ago. He was saying something around Vee Friends on the Discord channel. And I kind of replied to him around, this is sort of the story. Everyone was kind of sharing this story. But he made a comment being like, I reply quite a lot, as much as I can. And I can kind of guess what his email is from like his company email, just because of the structure of it. So I sent him an email directly being like, oh, by the way, this is a story that I was sharing. This is why I think it's really cool. Looking forward to like seeing you at VCon or whatever. Replied back being like, happy that it was happy that I could help, smiley face. Something simple, but I was like, oh dang, this is like a direct email from Gary. So I was like, oh shit, this is cool.
Yeah.
So like, look, sometimes, they don't get lost in the void. They actually go somewhere. But yeah, in this particular scenario of comments, like, imagine someone genuine, like, imagine some first-time listener goes, wow, I've never seen The Mere Mortals, but I'm watching episode 251, and it seems real cool. I'm going to leave him a comment on YouTube. You go and leave a comment, and then it gets deleted. You'd be like, what? Was it these fuckers who deleted it? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Man, that's kind of like, oh, shit.
Yeah, I also want to make clear, like, I'm not against YouTube as a whole. I see...
Can't against YouTube.
I see a lot of
We're going to get a strike for this very conversation. We're going to be like, YouTube's going to hate us for saying the YouTube shit.
Yeah, because I mean, you see stuff where, for example, they've gotten rid of the dislike as well. That's one of the guideline changes.
I didn't even notice, actually.
So
maybe not directly.
So you can hit dislike, but it doesn't show how many there is. And it's funny because people are complaining, saying, well, this is supposedly for the creator's health, mental health. They don't see it on their videos.
Yeah.
But you still do see it because you see it in the YouTube studio.
Yeah, you can go see the stats anyways.
It's more the people coming onto YouTube.
Yeah.
And then them not realizing they see this video's got 100,000 likes, but they can't see if it's also got 100,000 dislikes, if it's got 2 million, i.e. people are saying this is shit, or if it's got almost 0, people obviously saying, wow, this is a really great video.
Yep.
I have nothing to dislike about it. So things like that, I don't particularly care. Like, they can do what they want, and I'm just really grateful for YouTube as a whole for me being able to upload stuff.
Sure, yep. Agreed.
But I will say I have gotten more into the alternatives, and now that podcasting 2.0 is popping up, now that Hive as well, and 3Speak, it's still very rudimentary and basic, and very Latino dominated. Pretty much all. Yeah, there's so many South American and Spanish videos on there.
Wow.
I think perhaps because one of the main devs or creators or people promoting it
Latin American.
I believe he's Spanish, maybe Argentinian.
Okay.
So I'm finally seeing like an alternative. Vimeo, BitChute, like other video ones before, I didn't see the appeal to them because I was like, I just don't see how this would ever conquer YouTube.
Sure.
But something like 3Speak, which is also attached to a whole blockchain network of bloggers, of NFTs, of games, of people creating all this crazy stuff, I could see how that could then become the next one. And then also sort of podcasting 2.0, where it's an open ecosystem and it's not centralized, so you won't be able to get banned off of every single pod catcher, i.e. the places you listen to podcasts, which can also be videos as well.
Gotcha.
Podcast isn't necessarily audio, it can be video.
Here's an interesting question, because you were just saying like 3Speak could become the next big one, right? So, and that sort of dictates that YouTube would kind of either go away or become smaller, and then everyone's using 3Speak. Do you think that the reality of in the future, it's going to be that just things will overtake completely and be the new big behemoth, or blockchain style, token style, there's just going to be like hundreds of different little ones, and people will start utilizing like different sets as opposed to having the one major one?
I hope that it would be really spread out, broad, everyone gets a bit of a piece of the pie, i.e. there's not real big winners and losers. But I have the feeling that human nature, and not even just human nature, like the laws of nature seem to attract big things. Like they like conglomerations of big things, stars and galaxies and things like that. I have a feeling there is a gravity or attraction related to human interactions as well that will, no matter how good the tech is that tries to break it up, there will still be some driving force underneath this human subconscious which will still attract people to certain big things. So,
I mean, I'm similar. I kind of, I wouldn't say I'm in favor for just absolute monopoly level like companies, but maybe that's the actual reality of what's probably going to happen anyways, based on the fact of how it's always happened.
It sort of feels like that, man. Every company comes and goes, and then the next one comes through, and then that in 100 years goes away. I think we talked about this in one episode where we were saying, what's the biggest company, like list a company from 100 years ago, and we couldn't really, because it just constantly evolves and changes.
I wonder, actually, it's something that interests me. I'd love to, and if any mere mortal out there has a like 10-year-old kid or a 9-year-old kid, that would be cool. I want you to answer this question, so through a boostagram or through a comment or whatnot. But I'd be interested to know what 8, 9, 10-year-olds today are using the most from a social platform connection perspective. Is it Discord channels? Is it still TikTok, or is it Discord channels? Is it new apps? Man, we're not even talking about yet that are starting to pop up.
Do you think that they are using social apps at that young an age? Are they?
Most definitely. I would say most, absolutely, definitely. I've seen profiles on Instagram of like a 12-year-old, of like 11-year-old. Yeah, which I'm like, dang, dude. I wouldn't have had a phone for like a couple of years at that point. So I think I would love to know two things. One, what's the age on average that young kids get a phone nowadays? Because I would say that it's going to be super young. But two, what on average at the younger population, what's the main app that's being used?
Yeah, well, so I was just trying to type it in now. I got like a recommendation of things they should use. Okay. Edmondo, Club Penguin Island. I
feel like that's a bit old.
No, the Club Penguin. Instagram, Pop Jam, Chatfoss, Gecko Life, Messenger Kids. I don't know about that. Maybe try... let me search social app by age and see what...
Social app by age. Yeah, and I don't know if those numbers exist, right? And I think Gary says this a lot. It's more that he listens in or sees a lot of comments or where that trend... Because, again, it kind of goes to your point. You're mentioning 3Speak and you're mentioning the value for value enabled sort of podcasts. One item that does detract from it, or in my mind only, is that generally the transition has been from the old to the new, in a way that the younger generation comes up and then brings in the fact of like, oh yes, I want to be using Facebook, I want to be using Instagram, from like a young perspective, and then everyone else just remained in what was existing before. Although I don't know if I could say exactly the same thing could happen with podcasting 2.0 or maybe with 3Speak. Like, I can't envision a 10-year-old kid being like, yes, I want to use this over Spotify. Not right now, so I don't know how that transition works in that regard.
Yeah, for them, I think it would be more direct. like a marketing influence or a parent influence. You use this, young boy, etc. You know, you just get told you can use this, you can't use that. You don't have the nuance to say, oh, I'm not sure I like what's going on with Instagram. I'm going to start using this one more, or, you know, I'm going to start experimenting elsewhere. I also think it's going to be hard to find data, because I imagine there's going to be people who don't want their young kids being surveyed and things like that.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling...
I mean, I feel like they just grab that out of the metadata itself, though.
Yeah, potentially.
Okay, but if it's a difficult thing, I'd be interested. So if any mere mortalites out there have a young kid, I'd love to see a comment or a boostagram or anything like that of like, what does your kid use? What social platforms are they using? Is there brand new ones that we're unaware of? Are they using things like 3Speak? Are they using things like Value for Value enabled podcasts? That would be wild. That'd be cool to hear someone like 12-year-old being like, oh yeah, I use Fountain FM.
That'd be funny. Look, so this is data from 2021, and it just says high school or less, so that's probably like the closest I can get. And this is saying who say they ever use, percentage-wise. 70% saying YouTube, 64% saying Facebook, which I find hard to believe. 30% Instagram, Pinterest, 22%. The numbers, it's funny, like the numbers actually pretty consistent across age groups, which makes me think everyone uses a bit of everything, because it's just saying who I've ever used. Like, I've used Twitter before, I've used
Facebook before, but how often are you using
exactly. I think that data would probably have to like really research that, to be honest.
Okay. Just something that was of interest to me.
Yeah, okay.
Here's another little random tidbit. I got a message the other day from a guy, I'll call him out, I won't say his last name, Leon. And it was interesting because...
The lion.
Leon. Because so, although I think he's either Russian or Ukrainian or something like that, so maybe he wouldn't get that concept. But he reached out to me. Did I mention this to you? No. He reached out to me. Oh, but basically he reached out to me after like 2 years. So I talked to him maybe more than that, 3 years ago, when I used to be at an old job. And basically he actually reached out to be like, oh, do you want to come and work in my team that I'm building up here? And we're kind of discussing it, sent him my resume, had chats. Didn't eventuate anywhere. Anyways, 2 years ago, he then, maybe a year and a half ago, he moved into a new role, here in Brisbane, but they go across Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. And I thought it was a really cool company. It sounded like a cool company. And I sent him a message just congratulating him and be like, hope it goes well. And like, if there's any time when you guys are growing and, you want to reach out and whatnot, hit me up. And he sent me a message back after like a year and a half being like, oh, sorry for the delay in this message a year and a half, 2 years later. But he was like, it was during the time of like COVID craziness and the business was starting. We were just kind of getting it on. Anyways, he's kind of replied, I'd be like, oh, do you want to have a chat and see what the opportunities are? Wherever. I was like, cool, let's have a conversation next week. But one thing that was interesting, that obviously either permeated through the link, and I've got to check it with him, either the LinkedIn landscape that I'm like posting, or that he listens to the podcast. Because in even that comment that he made to me like 1.5 years ago, he said, oh, sorry for the blah, 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 because, we are all mere mortals. And I was like, oh, dang, where is this? I was like, and I want to check in with him. Where has this permeated from? Has it been like me messaging? Is he like listening to this? But I thought that was very cool. That we're starting to put maybe something into the ether, at least into the Brisbane landscape, maybe broader, that, the terminology of being like, yeah, we're all mere mortals. And I was like, that's cool, because it's definitely, I guess we try to put that concept out there. Like, sure, we sometimes talk about like, oh, this would be the cool thing or this would be that thing, but at the end of the day, like, we're just talking about like, yeah, we're just being mortals, and fuck it, don't really take too much things away from us, maybe some metrics or whatnot, but it was just very cool to see that once again happen in just like a random commentary.
Yeah,
like,
I always get super excited when I see it written in the book. I'm like, shit.
Yeah. Well, even our last Meanderings,
I stole that.
And I was finding the La Nina thing, and I was like, oh, mere mortals on the fucking website. Yeah, right. Shit, that's cool.
I thought your story was going to end with you saying sort of like the Peter Attia, Elizabeth Holmes, like, oh yeah, by the way, do you still want to join? And you look up and it's like the dodgiest fucking company ever. Have you actually, speaking of, have you ever had any close calls where you could have joined a cult, or you could have joined, I think you said you went to an Amway event once.
Yeah, I went to an Amway.
Could you have been convinced by them?
I went to an Amway. No, there was, I don't think I wouldn't be easily attracted if I knew enough information. Like with Amway, I knew enough information about, this is what they do. Maybe I'd listened to a couple of videos or a podcast or two, and I went, no, I see what they're doing here. If I had no clue, or maybe been younger, if I was younger and had no clue, and they just said like, here's this person who's double diamond and making 10 grand a month, you could be like too very easily. You just got to talk. I think maybe I could have, but I was at a point in time where I was like, I knew enough, and I was like, okay, that's cool. I wish you guys the very best and make all the money. But that's not down the path I wanted to. So maybe that would have been the only close call of like, maybe. I've had other people reach out to me, like old high school friends, being like, not Amway, but something similar, being like, I've got this really great offer. Would you like to join my team? And blah, 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 blah. I'd just be like, nah, fuck off.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever had something equivalent? Something where I was just almost got duped into work into a terrible place, or
no. And I think my reason for that is because I'm pretty anti-group in a way, in the sense that I just don't naturally join groups. I'm not always like, what's the next group I can join? Can I be part of this community? It's really only the past year or two where I've actually actively started to do that. Being away from social media for 6 years, 2013 to 2019, I think helps, so you don't come across too much stuff. I would say that I'm just not a natural group person, and I like being on my own, and so it was just they haven't had the opportunity to. I'm certainly gullible. What we say, I wasn't gullible, but I was. There was another word for it. We talked about this in an episode, the difference between the two, and I'm certain, like, I can certainly fall for things if people say it.
Yep.
Or I'm like too trusting right off the bat, but I just don't give them the chance, because they'd have to like literally be knocking down my door, coming into my room and be like, hey Kyron, you want this thing? You want to join this group? You want to join this cult? You want to sell these products? So no, I don't think I've really fallen for anything other than getting scammed in Mexico, but that's a bit different.
Yeah, I mean, the only one that came through my mind was once upon a time, let's say maybe 8 years ago or something like that. I was building like a StarNow profile. So at the time I was like, I want to do some advertising.
You'll get some dodgy stuff on StarNow for sure.
But what I got was a message from someone in Brisbane saying, we're giving away a free photo shoot deal. Join for the thing to see if you win. So I went through the website. It looked all legit. I put all my details. A couple of days later, you won. You won. And I went, awesome.
Lucky.
I won. Lucky me. So put in the details. I got a text message being like, well done. You've won the photo thing. La, la, la. Here's our address. Here's a place. And I looked it up and I was like, yep, it's a place. Seems like I've won, etc. And I was young. And I don't know what prompted me to ask some of these questions, but I was basically asking like, so what do you get? Like, what is it? And that's when they started kind of opening up and going, well, yeah, so it's a free photo shoot for 2 hours, and it's, all clothes changes come as part of the gift, as the winnings. But if you want any other photos, you got to pay. So it's about $400 for the first set, and $890 for the second set. And even then I was, okay, let me just go and check like some of the rates and whatnot. Maybe it's worth it. And whatever.
Yeah,
and I looked at
getting a discount.
I looked at other rates, and it was like basically the exact same price. So what I won is just like them saying like, you won, and to get the photos, the exact same price it's going to cost if you went to go do that exact same photo shoot somewhere else.
That's actually double than what I did for a photo shoot once. I think I had 2 hours. Didn't get unlimited photos. I think I got to pick 5, and they would properly edit them.
But, and here's the crazy thing, and I genuinely think, and I don't know if I've deleted it, but yeah, I still get, to this date, text messages of like, have you ever wondered what a professional photography studio looks like? Who's behind the camera? Who's holding the makeup brush? We have emailed you an exclusive invitation to our Brisbane studio open night. They are still going from all of those years ago.
Damn.
And I haven't gone to go check out how I can remove myself from their listing, but it's just still there. And I'm like, every time it's a reminder of like, they almost got me. So like this, that's exactly another one. Like it'd be like, come in and it's a free thing, and they'd probably take a photo of you and be like, it's $200 for that, mate. It's like, the I don't know if it's happened much to you, but cleaners, window cleaners in Australia. Has that ever happened to you? Sorry. This happened a lot in South America, so in Colombia. But basically, you get a window cleaner that comes over to your car, starts cleaning the window,
and you don't get
and then they're like, give me the money. That's $8. I've just done this job for you.
No, we just don't do that here. That's I'm struggling to think of a reason where people will do that forceful sort of thing upon you.
At least here in Australia.
It's just so, man, like, I didn't tell you this the other day. Wait, you were there when we were doing handstands, and a guy came up and he's like, "Hey guys, that was really awesome."
Oh yes, yeah.
Etc. Etc. Seemed like a cool guy. I was sort of like, I think I know this guy, and then right at the end, it's like, "Yeah, so anyone want a prayer?" And we're all just kind of like, "Whoa, where'd that come from?"
Yeah, that came out of left field.
No. We're all good, thanks, mate. I semi-recognized him from giving out pamphlets about a month prior. And then we realized, like, damn, we should have prayed for, like, good handstands or one-arm handstands. You know, there's plenty of things we could have prayed for. I need tons of help in my life. Just fucking look at me. And so that's, like, probably the most egregious forcing upon me I've had in ages,
in a while.
Like, it sticks in my mind.
Yeah.
So no to that respect. I just don't think we permit that sort of bullshit here. That's just not a thing we really... I don't miss it.
I do remember that happening. Like, that happened all the time, dude. Every time you would, like, almost every time you would drive, especially in the city area, and when you stop at a traffic light, it would happen all the time. And it was always a bit of a question of, like, if you don't pay them, then are they going to, like, smash your window because they don't do it? So you kind of, like, lose already. You're going to lose. Either you give them money and you kind of lost a little bit of money, or you don't do it and then they, like, attack you or some shit, and it's like, oh man, God, now that's even worse. So it's like, what do you do here? That's Colombian Latin America in a nutshell when you're driving.
Brendan was telling me the story of how he was parked at the lights in the valley. So the valley is sort of the nightlife zone in Brisbane, and you can get some odd people around there as well. It's like the fun and then the weird get attracted to the same place. And there was this guy walking down, 3 p.m. on a Saturday afternoon, and just walking down, and he sort of looks homeless or a little bit strange, and is walking across the pedestrian crossing or the lights in front of Brendan, turns, looks at him, and then goes, as if, like, to his car, as if, like, man, I'm gonna shoulder check the car. And Brendan's just like, what the fuck just happened? So, yeah, I mean, there's still enough strange incidents that you can get at traffic lights in the city, but not...
especially if there's some liquid lubrication happening as well.
Yeah,
so.
well, I mean, or other substances, for sure.
Yeah.
Just one thing was... I reckon Prentice, my brother, will probably fall into a cult of some sort.
You reckon?
Yeah, I mean, We're
gonna get him.
He's sort of like you in a way where he'll miss some small details which could be important. You've got the real charm and, like, confidence to just, like, play it off and, and, like, make you even like it for it. But for him, like, he'll shit me off sometimes where he'll just complete, like, I'm like, oh yeah, let's meet at Carindale, and then he goes to Garden City. Me literally sending him the map location of Carindale because I knew he was going to fuck it up, and then he just disregards that and goes to Garden City. That's so good. Which is, it's 20 minutes away difference from each other. They're both huge shopping centres, but not close at all. And he had a random text message come through, very similar to your ones. Hey, we're doing a study, a survey. We'll pay you, I think it was 100 and something for 2 hours. So it's like, okay, it's not the worst, And it's an experimental thing. You're going to try on this. Please, and it was basically, it was worded in a way where it had already assumed that he
had said yes.
Yep. And so he was just replying via text. I'm pretty sure he clicked the link or something and went to this place, and he was just trying to find out more details and accidentally signed up for it. So then he's just like, shit, now I have to go because now they have my details, like they have my phone number. So if I don't go, they're going to give me a call. And I think it's also because he's in this stage of trying to do, like, semi-dodgy things with the sports betting. With he's now joined up to Uber Eats as well, and he's doing some, like, random sort of, like, semi-dodgy things where I was like, if you get called out on that, that's going to be an awkward conversation you're going to have to explain. And so this was in Milton Street, so it's in Milton somewhere. So it's not too far from the Brisbane CBD, but it's just, nondescript building in this random location. Street park, you'll have to find street parking, etc., etc. And I'm just thinking, man, you're...
This is dodgy.
This sounds weird. He ends up going, and it actually was a really cool thing. He was testing out a thing where you could use your glasses to activate your phone or something like that. Or like... No, sorry. It was sort of like the Google Glass where if you wanted to view something, you'd tap it. If you wanted to increase the volume, you'd sort of just swipe up and down the lens. Okay. You could tilt it forward and it would change the image, and it was, being projected onto the glass. So some really cool things. So he was like, yeah, it was awesome, blah, blah, blah. So I guess that's the upside. And apparently 2 or 3 years earlier, he'd signed a survey thing saying, oh yeah, I'll be a volunteer in this study at UQ.
Gotcha, okay.
And then it was just, 2 years randomly later, they send a text message. So
damn. Yeah, but that's very trusting. That's probably a level 2 trust.
That's the upside of it. The downside is next time he's going to join like a sex cult.
Yeah. Next time he's going to come back 1 kidney less and be like, shit. Got $107, lost my kidney in the other one. Gotta weigh it up. God damn.
For sure.
Cool.
2 more things that have randomly been coming up for me. The one is, I've had not once but twice people comparing WALL-E and saying it's like a dystopian movie because in the movie itself, humans have become fat and lazy and we're addicted to our phones and etc. And I'm finding it funny that people are now saying that movie as if it's a bad thing. Like, it's just a Disney Pixar movie with a cute little robot.
Yep.
But the way they implied and talked about WALL-E was like, we're going to become like WALL-E Man. It's as if it's, the equivalent of World War Z or, one of those real dystopian 1984 movies where it's just like really fucked up.
People can sometimes look into things way too deep. I'm sure someone's going to look at like Toy Story original and be like, oh, this actually points to why we're going down this path. And
I'm pretty sure I've seen some really disturbing analysis of Sid, Sid the kid, and how he is really fucked up, and the daughter and the dolls, and she's trying to communicate, the sexual molestation. I'm like, whoa, man, it's just Toy Story. Come on, people. That
can be too extreme.
That tendency to
look into things where they don't actually
and
exist.
Look into it darkly as well. Yeah. It's like not even try and put a nice light on it. It's like, oh man, this is really fucked up. Like,
and look, I don't know if it's like true that like maybe it is true. Let's just say like for some whacked up reason it's actually true, but I just don't know if that's an enjoyable way to lead life either. To be looking at things in like that negative, that shocking view, it's like,
yeah, I wonder if some people's temperament is so that they really do enjoy that, and if they were trying to be more positive more of the time, that would actually not be as fun a life for them as the negative version, or if they've just gotten into, a funk or a depressed mind state, and so now they don't even realize how good life could be on the upper side if you're more optimistic. Yeah. So I wonder if it's something that they can't change and it's just this is how they operate and this is how they get enjoyment from life, or if it's some neural wiring gone wrong and they've gone down a bad path. Another one was hanging around in the Hosky group the other day, and I was watching this discussion where this guy was coming in, and his theory was Hosky is actually one of the Ethereum or Bitcoin people trying to destroy the Cardano network. So I was talking about how the load went up, and I put the little graph on the screen, and he was having a full debate of how Hosky is like a subversive program by the Ethereum guys to destroy Cardano. It was like, why isn't everyone worried about this? This is extreme. We can't tolerate this sort of behavior. And everyone's like, even if it was, the point of Cardano and the point is to be decentralized so that people can do this if they want to.
Yeah.
And the network should be able to handle these kind of problems if they come up.
Like if this is actually breaking, then we got another problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Problems like, if someone just randomly creating this is going to break the whole ecosystem.
Exactly.
Incorrect.
And so, perfect example of someone just looking at, it's a fucking meme coin, man. It's the most fun. Look at the memes I was putting up. They're funny as shit. And then the guys just come in just spewing hatred, well, not even hatred, just spewing these conspiracy theories and darkness everywhere. It's like, fuck, man, this is going bad.
Yeah, like if that's your default view, it's like, man, you're looking at your perspective of the world and actions in the world is probably pretty dark. And maybe some of them are true. I get it, fine. But just as a default, like, perspective like that, that's pretty crap.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a fun life.
my last observation is I'm saying no to the worst sides of myself. So
You're saying no to the worst sides of yourself.
Yes.
So what side have you got left?
yeah, fuck, there's nothing left, eh? Look at me, stick figure thing. Go, turn left and
Yeah.
sucks in. For me, I was getting into a bad mind state with the NFTs and coins.
Oh, yes.
I was looking at a lot of them. I was like, man.
Karen was getting into the money.
Yeah.
Into the greed.
I was noticing, man, I'm becoming more greedy.
Why don't I have 100 Ethereum? 200 Ethereum? What's going on?
Why, even bit like, not even Ethereum, it's just like, where can I get the next 100x thing? And I was particularly noticing this with the NFTs. And I had joined maybe 5 different ones. And, I was just looking at them, I'm like, man, I don't care. I don't even care about these things. Like, they look ugly as fuck. They're not nice looking. There's no way I'd ever put any of these on my wall. The only reason would be for pure status on Instagram or something like that. Do I need the money? No, I don't. So I've cleared out my Instagram. I've pretty much said the only way I would buy an NFT from now on is if it just really popped up, just me not even searching for it. So
or just like you really wanted it, or something special. You're like,
I think that's a critical thing. So
which interestingly enough, I think that is what leads to like really good investments, anyways.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like because if you genuinely care and like it, there's probably a likelihood there's going to be a lot of other people who also do that, and then it goes well, right?
For
So
sure.
it's like
for sure.
And I'll show you something because it's kind of related to this. So talking about.
Let me bring up the email that I got from who was her? South Bank. What's that? Yeah, we're recording, but it's all right. We'll just cut it. Do you remember her name, Juan?
No, but I'll be able to find.
Yeah. We've got it. Yeah, awesome. Cheers, bud.
It's Kate Sloan for future.
Okay, Kate. Yeah. All right.
Right,
we're back again.
We're back in. I reckon we keep that bit. I reckon we keep a little bit of that in the actual podcast too.
Okay.
So
yeah.
We have a security cam once again.
Proof.
Didn't you talk to this dude?
Yeah. Well,
You
no.
talked to this dude already?
So this was a guy who originally asked us, "Hey, do you have the form and whatnot?" And I
Yeah,
said
yeah.
No.
Oh, so somebody else came and asked.
Yeah,
you
it was
last
2
time.
other guys
Okay,
who
gotcha.
came last time. So.
Anyways, back to programming.
Back to
Yeah.
yes.
So this is also something I'm seeing. So it's interesting you mentioned that about NFTs. So
So it occurring naturally to you
for
without
me,
you having
like
to search it
yeah,
out.
like I think when it comes to greed factor, that's still my. There's probably a 10,
my predominant.
50, my predominant.
That's
thought.
how I view
There's
life.
probably like 10-50% of that in cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
But in NFTs, it's very low. Like
Okay.
I genuinely don't, and I don't know if it's because I've already had a 100x NFT sort of occurrence. I don't know if it's because of that. I don't know if it's because of other reasons. But I think now the purchases I do with NFTs, it's like, oh no, I genuinely think it's cool, or I like the person who's driving it, not for the reason of I want it to multiply 10 times. Like couldn't even care. Like I've got 18 NFTs so
Oh my
far,
God.
and I could not care if the majority of them just don't do anything. Just because I like the community, I like the interactions. But one thing I've been finding, I'll show you. Look at all these messages I have been getting, literally about NFTs.
What's that from?
Instagram. This is just
Instagram.
people
Yeah.
sending me messages to be like, oh, get onto this NFT, get into this NFT. Look at this.
Is that in your primary folder or?
No,
is
so
that
these are because they're coming through as like someone wants to send you a
unsolicited,
message.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm getting like maybe 10 a week, more than that. I'm like, good God, man.
We get probably 2 a week on our main
One as well.
channel, and it's just hidden in the back there. Yeah. Yeah, that's same for me. I've decided the only reason I'll buy them is more support. Now. So
yeah.
Pete from Learn Cardano, they've been talking about creating one, and it was going to be a sort of interactive spaceship thing where it's a build and whatnot. Do I particularly care about graphics and rendering and whatnot? No, but I'll buy. He actually has an NFT for his audios as well, so I think he created a couple. So I'll probably grab one of them at some point, just to be like, "Hey, here you go, Pete. Cheers for appearing on the Mere Mortals. I like what you're doing."
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I do to most of our guests. Bring them on. If you come on, I'll buy your NFT.
Sells like an NFT of 10 Ethereum or some shit like that. 2 Bitcoin per NFT.
They just pulled out one NFT and they're like, "This is just for Kyron."
Damn.
Good.
Anything else?
Boostagrams. So there was one.
Oh, yes, Boostagrams.
And this is real bad on my part, and this is also why I was talking about potentially doing live at some point. I missed one from like ages ago. It was I can bring up the date where it came through. Came through on November 14th. So, it was 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
So, not ages ago, but...
Well, we did miss it.
We did miss it, yeah. So this was from Robert Sasuke.
Sasuke.
He was my Dominican Republic. He lives in Dominican Republic, but I believe he's from Ecuador originally. Okay. And so he said, "Hey, Juan and Kyron, greetings from Dominican Republic. I love your podcast. Keep going. 1,000 sats sent using Castomatic."
Wow.
So,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Robert. That's actually his... he's kind of cool guy because he's... That's not his real name, Robert Sasuke, because that sounds almost, a mixing
Japanese
of American and Japanese. And he chose Sasuke, I think, because in Japanese it means hardworking or it's got a meaning behind it. And Robert was because I think he liked someone as well who was named Robert and whatnot.
Cool.
And yeah, he's got he's sort of like us in a way, like multiple podcasts. He dove into podcasting 2.0, and then he's actually really into 3Speak at the moment. He's got a blog. He's got a podcast to help podcasters.
Yep.
He's
awesome.
He's a hardworking dude, man. He puts a lot of his live stuff on YouTube, and his YouTube game is very strong as well. So he's a cool guy, and I would recommend if you for our one half a listener who also speaks Spanish, and you're looking for a podcast from around the world, check out. He's got Esto es Podcast or Te invito un café or Te invito un café. And there was another one. If you type in Robert Sasuke, you'll find it.
Okay. I'm assuming the other one is the podcast.
Podcast one. Podcast for podcasters.
Cool.
Yeah, I can't remember what that's called.
Wonderful.
So, yes,
thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert. Very much appreciated. Everyone, if you want to know what a boostagram is, how to do it, well, this is a value for value podcast. So we ask for your support to help produce this show. All of the funny, awesome videos and graphics that I put on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. And then if you're on a podcasting 2.0 app, you'll see all the images and whatnot. That takes a lot of time and effort and energy. And so we would appreciate if you could help contribute to the show. So
Correct.
You can do that 3 ways: time, talent, or treasure. So time would be if you're wanting to share it with someone else, saying like, hey, if the time it takes you to share it to someone. So you can do that on any app, share it to any place. Just say, hey, the mere mortals are cool. I like them. Talent, you could send us through a funny, fantastic message or a contribution, or if you're a graphic designer and you're like, Juan, I want to make a funny cartoon of you.
Do it.
Hell yeah. I would absolutely love that. Or even if our cover images or anything like that. And then treasure. So you could send us through some Satoshis. So doing that through any of the really good podcasting apps. So these are the ones with value attached. I'm going to list off a couple. Breeze, Fountain FM, Castomatic, Podfriend, Curiocaster. There's a whole bunch of them out there. We would really, really appreciate that. Send a boostagram in. We'll read it out on the show. Interact with you. This is value for value. Do it, please.
Do it.
It's like do it, but please.
Good. All right. Leave it at that for today.
That's it.
Me and Mortal Lads, thank you very much. One out.
Current it. Boom.